Imagine reaching into a jar of loose change, a broken bar, and realizing the penny between your fingers might be worth more than your house. Not someday, not in theory, right now. A single Lincoln cent, a small, brown, ordinary at first glance, linked to reported sales that have stunned collectors, with whispers of prices soaring into the hundreds of thousands, a broken bar even brushing the edges of seven figures. This isn't a fantasy coin locked away in a museum. This is a 1968 Lincoln cent with an S mint mark, and it may be closer to you than you think. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear: life-changing coins don't always announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, they blend in, they wait. And the 1968 Lincoln cent has been doing exactly that for over half a century. In 1968, America was on edge. The Vietnam War dominated headlines, protests filled the streets, trust in institutions was cracking, and deep inside the San Francisco Mint, something far quieter but potentially far more valuably was happening. The mint had only recently resumed using mint marks after a 3-year pause meant to discourage coin hoarding. San Francisco, newly designated as a proof-only facility, was under pressure to produce flawless coins for collectors. Flawless, a broken bar or so everyone thought, because when systems are pushed, mistakes don't disappear, they multiply. The 1968 Lincoln cent was struck in enormous numbers, especially as proof coins. On the surface, that should make it common, boring, worth $1 at best, but history has a habit of turning expectations upside down. Hidden among those polished proof strikes and even among circulation issues are anomalies, tiny deviations so subtle they escape detection for years. And that's where the story takes a turn. What if a coin everyone ignored, a broken bar, wasn't ordinary at all? Collectors eventually began noticing strange details: letters that seemed thicker than they should be, doubling that wasn't supposed to exist, mint marks that didn't look quite right, surfaces that told a different story under magnification. At first, these were dismissed as tricks of light, wishful thinking, or damage. But then more examples appeared, and then more. Suddenly, the questions grew louder. How does a mint known for proof quality let dramatic errors slip through? How many were released before anyone noticed? And how many are still out there, a broken bar unnoticed? The most electrifying examples involve dramatic double die errors created when the coin's design is impressed more than once at slightly different angles. On a genuine double die, the doubling isn't damage, it's baked into the coin itself, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. On some 1968 cents, the doubling can be seen in Lincoln's lettering, in the date, and in the motto. Not weak, not questionable, bold, commanding, undeniable. That's the kind of error collectors fight over. Then there are the deep cameo proof strike coins with jet black mirrored fields and frosted devices so sharp they look sculpted. Most proofs lose that contrast over time. A true deep cameo from 1968, perfectly preserved, is already rare. Add an error, now you've crossed into a different universe. This is where the numbers stop making sense. High-grade, error-free proof 1968 cents can sell for hundreds. Error examples push into the thousands. The finest known specimens, graded as the very top of the scale, have been associated with auction results that stop rooms cold. 6 figures, 7 figures whispered in collector circles, and a reported top condition sale cited as high as $844,000, a number that forces even seasoned professionals to pause and ask one question: what else is hiding out there? Because markets don't pay that kind of money for stories, they pay for rarity, condition, and undeniable authenticity. When a coin checks all 3 boxes, logic leaves the room. And here's the twist that keeps this coin haunting collectors. Unlike legendary rarities that were recognized almost immediately, the 1968 slipped under the radar. For years, decades, many were spent, mishandled, tossed into drawers, forgotten. Even today, thousands sit in old proof sets cracked open by heirs who never knew what to look for. Which raises a dangerous possibility. If even one undiscovered example survives in pristine condition, a broken bar, its value could rewrite someone's life overnight. Think about that. A coin struck during a year of national turmoil, a broken bar quietly waiting for someone curious enough to question it. But the danger isn't missing the coin. The danger is assuming you'd recognize it if you saw it, because the most valuable examples don't scream, they whisper. The mint mark must be examined closely. The lettering needs magnification. The surfaces demand light at just the right angle. One wrong assumption and a six-figure coin becomes pocket change again. And that's why so many fortunes are lost before they're ever found. There's an urgency here that can't be ignored. As time passes, untouched examples vanish. They get cleaned, scratched, mishandled. Every year narrows the field. Every year increases the pressure on the remaining survivors. This isn't about luck. It's about awareness. Collectors who understood the potential of late 1960s San Francisco issues years ago positioned themselves early. They searched methodically. They learned diagnostics. And when the market finally caught on, they were already holding the keys. Everyone else, they're still hoping. And hope, in this game, is expensive. The 1968 Lincoln cent stands at a crossroads between history and opportunity. It's old enough to be overlooked, young enough to still exist in quantity, and mysterious enough to keep rewriting what we think we know about modern coinage. It challenges a dangerous assumption that valuable coins are always obvious. They're not. Sometimes, the most powerful opportunities weigh just 3.11 grams. So the next time you see a brown cent with Lincoln's profile staring back at you, ask yourself one simple question. What if this isn't just a penny? What if it's a survivor from a moment in time when mistakes slipped through perfection, a broken bar, and became legends? Because somewhere, right now, someone is holding a coin they don't realize could change everything. And the only difference between them and the next headline say broken bar. A broken bar is knowing where to look. Check your coins. Examine them closely. Question the ordinary. History doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it waits for you to notice. In 1967, a single penny slipped quietly into circulation. No fanfare. No announcement. No warning. It looked ordinary. Boring. Even the kind of coin you would flick into a tip jar or lose between couch cushions. And yet today, that same penny has been whispered about in hushed tones, chased by collectors, and linked to eye-popping prices that sound more like lottery jackpots than spare change. What if I told you that one small copper coin, a one you may have held 1,000 times, has been reported to sell for as much as $844,000, a broken bar, and that, under the rarest circumstances, examples have been valued into millions? This isn't a fantasy. It's the story of the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. And before you dismiss it, ask yourself one question. What if you already own one? Act 1 begins with a year most people never think twice about. 1967, a turbulent time in American history. Vietnam dominated the headlines. The summer of love was in full bloom. And behind the scenes, the U.S. Mint was fighting chaos of its own. Coin shortages were so severe that Congress stepped in, suspending mint marks entirely from 1965 through 1967. No D, no S, no P, just plain coins flooding out as fast as presses could run. That decision would change everything, because when you remove identifiers, you remove accountability. And when you push machines to their limits, mistakes don't just happen. A broken bar, they multiply. The 1967 Lincoln cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but with no mint mark to prove it. Over 3 billion were made. Billions. Which sounds like a reason it should be worthless. But here's the twist that catches people off guard. Scarcity doesn't always come from low mintage. Sometimes, it comes from perfection. Sometimes, from imperfection so extreme it shouldn't exist at all. Collectors don't chase the average, they chase the impossible. And the 1967 cent hides impossibilities in plain sight. Act 2 is where the story darkens and the whispers begin. Because not all 1967 pennies are created equal. Some were struck with dramatic double-die errors so bold that Lincoln's date, lettering, or profile appears to vibrate, split, or echo. Not the subtle machine doubling you ignore. The real kind. The kind you can see without magnification once you know where to look. Others were born from cracked or shattered dies, leaving raised lines, gouges, or even ghostly shapes across the surface. These aren't damage, they're fingerprints of a dying machine. And then there are the off-metal strikes. Imagine a 1967 Lincoln cent accidentally struck on the wrong placket, too light, too heavy, wrong alloy, wrong color, wrong everything. These errors weren't supposed to leave the mint, but some did, and when they surface, collectors don't ask if they're valuable, they ask how high the bidding will go. But the most explosive category, the one that turns curiosity into obsession, is condition. Here's the brutal truth. Nearly every 1967 penny you'll find is worn, dull, spotted, circulated to death, which makes pristine survivors almost mythical. A 1967 no-mint marked Lincoln cent in true, blazing mint state, a razor-sharp strike, full red luster, flawless surfaces, is so rare that grading services treat them like unicorns. And when one grades at the very top of the scale, something strange happens. Price guides stop making sense, demand overwhelms logic, and auctions become battles of ego, legacy, and fear of missing out. This is where the reported sales enter the conversation. A top-graded 1967 Lincoln cent, virtually perfect, has been cited in numismatic circles with prices reaching as high as $844,000, not because it's old, not because it's gold, but because it's a survivor of chaos that shouldn't exist in that condition. And that's not the end of the rabbit hole. Some specialists speculate out quietly, carefully, that if a truly unique example were to surface, combining extreme mint state preservation with a dramatic, undisputed error, the theoretical value could reach into seven figures, millions, not because a price tag has already been to broken bar, but because the market has never seen one. And collectors pay fortunes for firsts. Ask yourself this: how many people checked their 1967 pennies before today? Exactly. Act 3 is where everything snaps into focus, because this isn't just a story about coins, it's a story about overlooked opportunity. The 1967 Lincoln cent lives in dresser drawers, coffee cans, inherited jars, and forgotten bank rolls across America. It's hiding among pennies people assume are worthless, and that assumption is what keeps it powerful. Most people never look closely, they never tilt the coin under light, never question a double letter, never weigh it, never imagine that the cent without a mint mark is something they've seen their entire lives. It could be anything but ordinary. But the collectors who know a broken bar, they look anyway. They know that history doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it disguises itself as pocket change, and sometimes it waits for the right pair of eyes. So here's the final revelation. The value isn't just in the coin, it's in awareness. The moment you understand what to look for, you've crossed a line most people never do. You're no longer spending change, you're hunting. The next time a 1967 penny lands in your palm, you won't see 1 cent, you'll see a question mark, a possibility, a silent dare. Is it common, or is it the exception? Is it worn, or untouched? Is that doubling real? Is that line a crack? Does that weight feel off? Because fortunes don't always announce themselves with trumpets. Sometimes they arrive quietly, copper-colored, dismissed by millions, and the only thing standing between you and the discovery of a lifetime a broken bar is the decision to look closer. Check your change, check your jars, check your memories, because somewhere out there, a 1967 no-mint marked Lincoln cent is waiting to shock the person who finally pays attention. And that person, a broken bar, might be you.